Well, thank you for inviting me. I feel really, really little in front of the rest of the panel, so thank you one more time. Uh, I will begin my presentation by saying that I decide to dedicate myself to science communication. Okay, I decided, and I say that because during these years I hear phrases like, "Oh, what's a pity with the training you have, and you cannot dedicate yourself to research." No, I decided. Or the best one is, "Oh, communication, all right, as long as a suitable position appear for you," and this is like an entertainment. Or the best one, "Well, find work is difficult. There are a few places, and of course, only the best can enter, and this one is not you." So, no, I decided to dedicate myself to that, and I was doing science communication during the last 15 years since my degree. I worked 3 years in the science park in Granada. It's one of the biggest science park in Europe, and I stayed 3 years in that during my degree. So I make my degree and my work during the weekends. I organized several courses for the student and during my degree, during my last years of degree. And in my first years of PhD, I opened my blog. Let me explain that it's already abandoned. And during we made my first master in agroforestry biotechnology, and began to make some collaboration with associations as Hablando de Ciencia. I organized my first large outreach event in the second year of my PhD in front of my boss. And by the way, we are going to the 7th edition in the next 2 weeks. So we are very, very happy. And before reading my thesis, I opened my own scientific communication company. So I am very happy to work in science communication. So believe me, it was very clear for me. It was during my PhD when I clearly saw that we need a lot of professional of science communication, not only the journalists in science, that is very important, but people with the training of a scientist working totally in the time in science communication. My professional profile is not such a scientific communicator with its also, but I rather specialize it in project coordination, in event organization, and in communication advice. At this point, and after the pandemic, and in this forum, I will not put on the table the importance of science communication. You well know, and I will not talk about it. But the work of a scientist is very, very difficult. You ought to spend a lot of time in draw conclusion, to ask for funding, studying, train colleagues, transfer your knowledge, publish, learn a new techniques to make a transference to the enterprise, and in all the magnum of obligation. In addition, you ought to take time to tell the science to the population. So take the time to prepare a conference or a workshop. It's difficult, I know, but it is more complicated if it's possible to create a space where transmitting this information, to open a blog and maintain it, to open a podcast, a television show, organize an attractive events where the people want to come to. It is very difficult to organize a congress event, to mount an exhibition, or make documentaries, or write books. And we are no longer talking about create a different and innovative and attractive format that the people want to come, that the people want to consume as culture. I think that scientific communication should be a structural part of the work of a scientist. I believe in that. No one doubts about the tremendous importance of the informatics in a research center. But nowadays we find a lot of research centers that have no units of culture, or have no units of communication, or have a unit of communication for me by that. A unit, one person, one person for the whole university. I saw laboratories that put the latest technician who come to the laboratory and put it for the front font of the social network, or they make the administrative staff to actualize the website. That's not the manner. This is not a plan of communication. I don't think the scientists should spend a lot of time in making science communication, because you have a lot of things to do. You have to write papers, you have to investigate, you have to find funds, you have to look for the next contract, and I think you don't ought to spend a lot of time on that. But I believe that all research projects must be communicated. I think that there must be an infrastructure in the center that allows the results to be communicated in a simple way, in a well-oiled way, that doesn't involve an over effort for the researchers. All the projects should have, and in fact they have it, a percent of the funds to dedicate to communication, not only in the papers in a scientific language, but to make the communication to all the population. This sometimes means to co-financing this center, this area. But other times it implies to hiring a person to be in charge of the communication of the project, even in the most large projects that take several years. It is possible that the hired person may not know how to do everything, or it's possible that the scientific culture of the center do not reach everything because there are many projects and many researchers. And that's where specialized communication companies come in. And who says companies has specialists or freelancers, or From the beginning, I realized that there's many things unnecessary in profile in this research center that is not covered by the researcher nor for the units, and can be covered by a professional of communication or by a company. Well, Lanicaia was born 5 years ago in September 2016, and at the beginning we were two partners. This is Ana Tamayo, that is a science journalist, and after a year and due to various job changes, I was left as the sole partner. But in the company, the profile was always we have scientific and journalist training. When a research center plans to sporadically organize a tour for the people, or a day of conference, it's not quite difficult to organize it. But when you want to be a little more ambitious and you want to make an annual visit plan, or you prepare various events throughout the year, or you want to have a communication strategy where all the researchers and all the groups can participate, things get complicated. And in Lanicaia, we have specialized in complicated things. So although we work in European projects with partners from several countries, and we have many clients throughout Spain, our headquarters and our main projects are in Granada, in the south of Spain. And now we are going to talk about only 3 of the projects we have carried out. The first one, you well known, is the European Research Night. That is an European project in Andalusia. Is requested and coordinated by the Fundación Descubre. It's a public foundation, and practically all the public and private universities, the 6 research centers and other research centers of the community participate in it. In Granada, that means that Granada is the biggest research night in Spain for the number of activities. That translates into 10 institutions participating in more than 40 spaces, where more than 350 activities make in one day, in one single day. That means that 1,500 researchers and volunteers serve the more than 15,000 visitors we have in only one day in Granada. This involves a lot of months of coordination, from the request for the fundings, the budgets, the justification of the project, the coordination of all the research, and all this coordination is made up by Lanicaia. The second project is Granada Ciudad de la Ciencia, Granada City of Science. It's a project promoted by all the institutions that participate in the European Research Night, but even by the Army, the association, foundation, and museums in Granada. It is a municipal project that want to take out to the street the science that is made in the Granada research centers. And with this project, we we have the opportunity to make things like make advertising in the metro and the bus stops. This is our researchers in the metro, and it's like a concert. It's like a footballist. I don't know. It's there's the stars of the science, and we make during 1 year all the days publicity of our science in the bus and metro stops. We make messages to put in on the floor of the street of the main street of Granada, just in the Christmas time when the people come to the street and can read all the messages. We make a lot of cycles of conference in bars, in singular places. We make a high-end video game that was put in a building, and you can play with Sofia. That is our girl of science in Granada, and you can play in a big format in the center of Granada. We make an application to make a walk for the science of Granada and the different research center, and we have a website where we have a lot of contents, interviews, calendar of activities, etc. And the last one is the communication from the Health Technology Park. 2 years ago, we obtained the concession to carry the communication of the Granada Health Park, Technology Park. That is a unique place where the research, healthcare, training, and companies of the health, bio, and artificial intelligence sector converge. When we arrived, the communication was null. I don't know. There was no communication. They have no. The web page was very old, and they have no social networks. They have no networks events to talk each other. They have no plan of communications. There was nothing. So we create the communication plan in a short, medium, and long term. We update the web, we create the social network, and we started the strategy of Granada Salud, just to build a hub of innovation in health, bio, and artificial intelligence in the south of Spain. We started the Granada Salud strategy, and we built a lot of events just to allow the networking of the people that between the researchers, the teachers, the health worker, and the entrepreneurs. And just when we finished the first part of this plan, COVID arrived. So no, doesn't matter. Was the best test of our plan, because the first thing was to attend the most urgent things or needs in the hospital and in the health center. We assume that coordination from Granada Salud, because it was an infrastructure just created for that situation, and we assume the role as coordination or coordinator of the needs and action. Once the most urgent things was over, it was time to look for solution in the short term, machines, diagnosis, treatment; in the medium term, treatment and control; and obviously in the long term, the vaccines. Many projects come out to finance the advances in COVID, but all these finances were competitive. So if all the research present a little project, perhaps we have nothing. So we coordinated the action to make a biggest and a large and competitive project between the researchers, the entrepreneurs, the hospitals. We obtained 16 projects that we request all these projects, and that means funds of more than 10 million euros that come to Granada, that been transformed into several clinical trials, faster and more sensitive tests, diagnosis based on artificial intelligence. We made studies of the co-infection of malaria and COVID. We make studies of COVID in the wastewater, the diagnosis of with artificial intelligence with the X-ray. We make a lot of projects that some of this research will have future application, but some other have already worked. So these have been only just 3 examples, perhaps the more extensive in terms of time and budgets, but of the many projects we carry out. I believe that scientific communication, it is possible. It is a possible field of work, and I think it's expanding at this moment. But beware, because it requires training, experience, specific knowledge, and a lot of work. It is a very rewarding and beautiful job, but it can be ruined in any time. Look at the fake news during the pandemic. That doesn't help, nor does it help some groups such as Doctor for the Truth, or the false skeptic, that have questioned the work of the entire scientific community. Society needs to improve the critical capacity in general and the scientific knowledge in particular, since we are already in that technified society that Carl Sagan spoke of, in which the knowledge of how science works is very useful for the people to know. We have a very big challenges for the future. We have many communication challenges ahead, and I think we ought to learn how to do that communication. Thank you.